Welcome everyone back to Spoiler Warning, featuring myself, Tom Colohue. We are, of course, talking wrestling today. Our top story will be as regards the Wyatt 6. There's a lot going on, really, worth talking about. There will also be talk about SummerSlam. There'll be talk about the wonder that is the plans for so many stipulations at SummerSlam. We're going to be talking about Smackdown, Alberto Del Rio. We're going to be talking about Zelina Vega trying to essentially force the WWE to feature women more, and Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair being more involved in creative. We've even got a little bit more about Travis Scott. So a lot to talk about, but we'll be taking our time with it a little bit because we've got a show to host. And typically this show is watched by hundreds of people a week. So I want to start by basically saying, hello, welcome everyone. I can see we've got plenty of people coming in on the TikTok side, giving it a shot, see how that goes. And at the same time, we've got plenty of people dropping chat rate on the YouTube side. For those not aware, one of the easiest ways that you can support the show and support any stream which I'm featured on is by chatting, even if it's purely amongst yourselves. That basically communicates to TikTok, communicates to YouTube that we're live, we're active, and that it's worth checking out. There's other ways, such as, for example, hitting the like button. So I'm going to take this opportunity to pin a comment saying, say hi, hit like, and welcome. Nice, easy one, which I can just pin at the top and encourage people to check out what we are doing here. If it is your first time here, we talk wrestling and we cover wrestling news. By all means, check us out. Short form on TikTok, long form on YouTube. We will be live for both nights of SummerSlam. We will be holding full watch parties and we'll be sharing plenty of content from SummerSlam and in and around SummerSlam on TikTok too. So by all means, be sure to check that out. Our top story and the thing I'm going to be asking most questions about is going to be the Wyatt 6, who finally have an opportunity to really show up and really show what they can do. They've been added into a tag team TLC match at SummerSlam featuring 6 different teams. This is an interesting one because this will basically tell us if they're face or heel. Will Eric Rowan get involved? If so, surely we're looking at heels here. But then there's literally 6 teams, 12 people, a lot of carnage. If Eric Rowan does not get involved, what is the point of having him out there in the first place? It's an interesting spot for the Wyatt 6 to be in. But they've had to sort of earn their way here. I've spoken at length about the fact that the WWE weren't willing to bring them back just yet until they'd seen some concessions. Essentially, the way that Bo Dallas wants to tell his story is very different to the way that the WWE want him to tell his story. That has resulted in a number of limitations. Someone's screaming next door. Wonderful. That has resulted in a number of limitations and sort of prevented them from showing up the way that they wanted to. This, of course, means that when it comes to WWE, they've been pitching storylines alternatively to what the Wyatt 6 wanted to make happen. So far, hasn't really happened. It's nice to see them back, but some of the concessions they've had to make include, and I've just got a list here, they were asked to stop wearing the masks, even though Bo Dallas wanted the masks to be worn when wrestling. There are apparently elements of body horror, which the WWE was not keen on featuring. And also there was conversations about wins and losses. The WWE was not willing to let them win any championships if there wasn't a chance of them losing fairly regularly. They are going to be pitched as sort of normal folk, which is difficult in a wrestling world, and a difficulty for an act like Uncle Howdy. It doesn't quite show what I feel is a necessary part of their overall evil. What I will say is that this is really pushing 2 individuals over everyone else. We haven't seen much Eric Rowan. We haven't seen much Bo Dallas in the ring. We haven't seen much Nikki Cross in the ring. We've seen lots of Joe Gacy, and lots of Dexter Lumis. I have reported previously that this was going to be the tag team, that there are elements of loyalty that are different for each of them. And of course, as many of you I'm sure will remember, always and forever, watch the pig. The Wyatt 6 have an opportunity at TLC to really show what they're all about, but it's also the easiest way, I feel, to rob them of the gold, because they don't have to be even slightly involved in the finish to make this one happen. It's a good opportunity to rotate the board when it comes to the Smackdown tag division, which at this point in time is probably the most exciting thing happening in WWE. Always a fun thing to discuss. I'd love to hear your opinions as well on the Wyatt Six, how they're being used, how they've been used in the past. Do you think this is going to be finally the success that people expected it to be? Meanwhile, welcome Aaron, says, hey, I hope everyone's doing well. Welcome Sean, says, hello Tom, welcome Sean. Paul says, during the taping of the August 7th episode of TNA Impact, former TNA World Champion Rich Swann returned to the company as once again part of the First Class faction. Interesting. Roy says, do you think Santino Marella will win the North American Championship? I do not, and I hope to God he never does. Sid says, Drew McIntyre may miss SummerSlam due to passport issue. He will not be doing that. Sid, you say you've heard he's going to his friend's wedding. He isn't. He's been and gone from his friend's wedding. Interesting. Sledgehammer says, evening everyone. Evening Sledgehammer. And Sai says, hey Tom and chat. Welcome Sai. I can see Marcel and Declan fighting for that whole #1 spot with a battle of the chat rate. Thank you kindly guys. That is just a little way that they are helping to boost the growth of this channel. Noob says, hello Mr. Colohue, how are you doing today? Doing well, thank you. Good to see you, mate. And Liam says, there'll be 6 hours of pre-show content across both days of SummerSlam this weekend. Yeah, it's going to be insane. It's going to be a little bit ridiculous. They do like to really overdo it to try and keep people on their programming. And honestly, they're making a lot of money off YouTube nowadays. I might pop in while I'm live and try and convince some people to check out the watch party. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. Drive-by says, let's get those likes in, guys. And please do make sure you have hit like. We're on 24 so far. Liam also says, advertise for Raw before SummerSlam, which is tonight. Roman Reigns appears. Rhea, Stephanie, Nikki, Io versus Naomi, Chelsea, Piper and Alba. World Champion Gunter and Punk. Judgment Day versus LWO for the tag team titles. The Raw tag team division is not exactly getting the rub. Ray says, I want to see TNA wrestlers win the NXT title. Seems like it's very much going the other way. Mancunian Way, welcome on the TikTok side. Says, evening, shares a love on all platforms. You clearly are, and I appreciate you for that. Oh, where was I? There's still quite a bit to cover. Liam says, a Little Caesars Arena is advertising AJ Styles, Asuka, and Kairi Sane versus Dominic Mysterio, Raquel, and Roxanne Perez for Raw tonight. Interesting. WWE haven't announced it, so I'm interested to see if that ends up being a dark match. Bam Bam says, do you expect Cena's face turn in SummerSlam? No. Liam says, Nick Aldis announces that Wyatt Six will defend the tag titles in a TLC match at SummerSlam next weekend. And Declan says, I hope everyone had a great weekend. It was a lot of fun for me, I tell you that. Liam says, the WWE late night event with Tony Hinchcliffe and Cody Rhodes for SummerSlam 2025 week has been cancelled. Some people are upset. Most people are not. Drive-by says, hi Tom, any update on Drew McIntyre getting back into the US in time for SummerSlam, or what is happening to the tag match now? To my knowledge, Drew McIntyre is already back in the US. Let's just say he found a way. Or, more importantly, the WWE found a way for him. Thank you very much for the 2 gifts, Mancunian Way. Appreciate you. Or should I just say Martin? Thank you very kindly. I like to read out the full thing in case people want to check out what you're doing here. As in what you're doing on the TikTok platform, not what you're doing in this chat. You get me. You get me. Liam says Damian Priest versus Aleister Black is set for next week, night before SummerSlam weekend. Oh, okay. Liam, we will be talking about Travis Scott. Don't you worry, we absolutely will. Paul says, who's going to be in War Games? Personally, my expectation is that we were going to see Solo Sikoa on one side of a team and Jacob Fatu on the other. Sean says, Fightful has said there was no plan for Alexa versus Charlotte at SummerSlam and they were always going to team together. Somebody has been watching Spoiler Warning. Declan also says WWE have cancelled the Tony Hinchcliffe SummerSlam roast. A lot of people happy about that. Kevin says WWE don't trust the Wyatt Six. WWE don't trust most of their wrestlers. I'll point that out. Irish, don't worry. It's not that late. We've had an early discussion point which you can pop back and check, but that's about all. Sid says, do you think Roman and Jacob Fatu will team up in the future? Yes, I do. Eric is saying, sourced by Fightful overbooked, which is an opinion show. Marcel says, watch the pig, and also Cherry Coke, which, if we're putting over anything, it should be Cherry Coke. Martin says, I know you're not on X anymore, same as me. What's the best way to get in touch? Via email. Yeah, email's certainly an option. My email is available on YouTube, and you can just check it out there, or I can send you a message with it. I do need to have a think about the best way to reach out, but as I say, my email is readily available on YouTube. You just got to click the right button. I'm sure you'll know where to find it. Hello, Ishi, good to see you, mate. And yes, finally, the Wyatt 6 will be on PLE. David Jones says, hey Tom, how are you? I want Bray's vision to be done. It looks like WWE, unfortunately, don't quite agree when it comes to that one. Ishi says, a previous run was okay, but this time so far I like it. Hopefully WWE keep the ball going with them. Noom says, oh great, body horror, the different kind of horror that I'm going to see in wrestling. I've already seen enough in movies and video games. Looks like that moment will not be coming. Bailey says, if London can't bid for a WrestleMania, could it bid for a 2-night Summerslam? It absolutely can bid for a WrestleMania. The amount of money they would offer would not be taken seriously. Thank you again, Martin. Appreciate that as a kicker challenge. Bob John says, who's main eventing night 1, Tom? Punk and Gunter or Roman and Jay versus Braun and Bronson? Punk and Gunter is the most likely main event for night 1, with Roman and Jay versus Braun and Bronson opening the show instead. Kevin is glad the Tony Hinchcliffe SummerSlam show was cancelled. Sean says, Brie Bella said in her and Nikki's show that her husband Bryan Danielson being in AEW is a roadblock to her returning to WWE. And that would be a personal choice, that WWE are not very concerned by that as a concept. Dax says, I was able to go to the Smackdown when the Wyatt 6 won the tag belts. It was awesome. Good to hear, mate. Calvin says, I was honestly amazed WWE decided to pay tribute to Hulk Hogan on SmackDown in such a big way, despite his controversies. WWE never acknowledged his controversies, beyond asking him to apologise, which he kind of did and kind of didn't. What's the pig indeed, Bob John? Martin is bombarding with gifts. I appreciate you. I'll wait for them all to come in, and then I will divide them by 5 and give you that many squats. So we're already looking at... Let's see, we've got 20 there. If we divide them by 5, that's 4. 31 there. So we're looking at 10. And then you did give some gifts earlier, so I'm going to give you 11. I think that's fair. Right, for those unaware, for every £1, every $1 donation that we get on YouTube, that is 1 squat that I'll be doing, and also for every 5 gifts on TikTok, I'll be doing that as well. Appreciate it, Martin, but recently I exhaled and the button on my shorts clipped open. I will be doing the squats. And in addition, however many squats I do, after the show, I will go and do that many push-ups, and I will like it. I've told you, it's not necessarily about you guys torturing me, though I appreciate that you do that. It's also about the fact that I am not fit. And I'm getting older. I recently turned 37. Maybe, just maybe, I should be trying a little bit harder. Oh, interesting little jigsaw. I like it. Oh, Ishi's also dropping gifts. Thank you very kindly, Ishi. Very generous. Says, I know it's not a lot, but keep the work going. Everyone watch Tom. Spoiler warning, I repeat, watch Tom. Appreciate you, Ishi. Please do not at any point feel like you're not giving enough. If you are giving something, I'm extremely grateful. If you are giving nothing, I'm also grateful to you for being here. Nobody should ever feel like they have to donate. To be clear, the money I make from this is not what I consider success. The fact is, I'm able to support a family of 4. I consider that an incredible success. What the hell is that on my head? I consider that an incredible success. So thank you once again for your generosity. That's an extra 5. That's an extra 5. So that is 12, 17 squats. Great start. We've got plenty of news still to come, and Tom's doing his squats. We'll see if I can do all 17 at once. It should be doable. I do the hand thing. Button's just gone. I do apologise. That was 4. Told you, it's a problem. That was 4. 5. I do the hand thing because I played it's gone again. Because I played far too much Final Fantasy VII in my youth. It's a problem. I can now only do the squats in the style of Cloud. That's 10. I'm going to keep going and I'm going to finish them off, because then I can do the button up again. I don't want to accidentally get demonetized, and by that I mean banned, because, you know, there's such a thing as too much. Thankfully the camera angle's at a really good spot for that. That is 17. Thank you once again, everyone, for your continued gift and kindness. Keeps the channel going, keeps the lights turned on, although, as I've mentioned, I can power a light. Thank you guys very much. Where was I? Thank you again, Martin. Thank you again, Ishii. Oh, I was a little bit before that. There I am. So it says, question for you, Tom. You've mentioned your all-time favourite pay-per-view before. I believe it's one of the Summerslams. That'll be 1998. I have an overlay idea for the weekend. Ah, okay. Okay, so were you going to ask the year? Because I can't see a... Oh, there... Nope, can't see a follow-up there. But yes, it was 1998. The Highway to Hell. What can I say? I love it. I don't care. Davey says it's also lame-ass BS trying to destroy their supernatural side on Triple H's part. He's scared of anything outside the box now. They need to be tweeners and be booked similar to the Judgment Day was/is. I will say a lot of wrestlers are uncomfortable working with the Wyatt Six and were uncomfortable with the idea of working with Bray Wyatt when the supernatural side was live because they didn't know what damage it might do to their characters. Bam Bam says, is Cody winning at SummerSlam in your opinion? Nope. Ray says, do you think AJ Styles will show up at TNA Bound for Glory in October? Yes, I do. Kevin says, congrats to Mercedes Money holding 8 belts. God damn. Bob John suggests the Highway to the 6th and also says WWE Unreal is out tomorrow. Ishii says, what do you think of the Wyatt 6 now, Tom? Are you interested in it? I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm not convinced. I think, unfortunately, you cannot replicate who Bray Wyatt was. And I do feel sometimes that they're harming themselves by trying. Sean says, Miz said via Instagram if Drew couldn't make it back, he wanted to take his spot in the tag match. Declan said, is Becky going to retain the title at SummerSlam? I expect so, yes. Drive-by says, any news on Seth's injury? Other than watching a whole lot of wrestling journalists argue about it, I don't know. I have been told he's injured. People have hoodwinked us before. What can I say? Calvin, Triple H is not trying to destroy the Wyatt Six. He wants all of his people to be earning money because it means he does. Yes, Calvin. Austin Theory's injury is quite serious. Ooh, Erin, thank you. That's a very, very good point. Says, Discord would be a good way to have people reach out as well if needed. I do have my Discord. What I need to do is add a link somewhere in the bios on YouTube so people can just come check it out by looking at the About Me section. I appreciate the reminder, Erin. I'll try and make that happen. Noob says, I like Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss as a tag team. I believe the Kabuki Warriors don't have a reason why they're a tag team, other than the fact that they're friends, or any character development or storyline reason, something Asuka is lacking. Or, once again, as I mentioned, they're friends and they're regularly injured, so probably good if they don't always have one-on-one matches. Calvin says, could they be planning a big return for Theory? Yes. Are they? No. Declan says, I still have Seth cashing in for the WWE Championship instead of the World Heavyweight Championship. And Sid says, what title do you think Jacob Fatu will win next? I think at some point soon he would be competing for the United States Championship, but personally I want him to win the WWE Championship from John Cena. I just think he'd be very good like that. Ray says, did you watch Jacob Fatu in Major League Wrestling? I did not. Sean says, after SummerSlam went off air, Bayley came out and expressed frustration for not being on SummerSlam. Is this leading to a Bayley heel turn? I hope not. We have Becky as a heel. It does seem to be leading in that direction. Yeah, and that does immediately line us up with more from, for example, Io Sky versus Bayley, although we've already seen that. Becky versus Io Sky we've already seen. We do need some fresh opponents for Io. And honestly, I'd be leaning more towards a Lyra heel turn to make that happen. Bob John likes the idea of Aleister Black dethroning John Cena. Thank you, Ishii. Appreciate it. Declan says, what title do you see Becky winning next? I see her defending her current championship for a while first. Martin dropping chat rate. Thank you, guys. Juan says, last Saturday, AEW Collision gave a 1-minute tribute to Hogan. Dave Meltzer believes they were pressured to do it based on the backlash. I would say so, yes. To my knowledge, there was no intention to do so. There's not a lot of respect from him in that locker room. Kevin says Tom was 16. 16 for what, mate? What are you saying? 16 for what? Calvin says, have your glutes grown while doing those squats? Actually, no. I've always been someone who squats. Always. My thighs are by far my strongest muscles, although to be fair, that's not abnormal. And yeah, what can I say? There are certain things which everyone I've dated have told me they're attracted to. The eyebrows are like a big one, apparently. People ask me a lot if I get them done, and I don't. I have good eyebrows. I've always had good eyebrows, and apparently that's a thing. Second one is the forearms. If I was to give anyone a quote-unquote hack, show off your forearms, roll up your sleeves, and then just do something to make someone else happy. Genuinely works for me. But the last one is that I have a monumental dumper. Yeah. I work hard on it. I recommend monumental dumpers. Anyway, Sid says, do you see Adam Copeland and Christian Cage being a tag team in AEW? Eventually, yeah. Eric says, Asuka's solo storyline ended at Night of Champions. WWE never seriously had any plans for Asuka. Asuka and Kairi say both want to establish the Kabuki Warriors as a top tag team. This is correct, and it is what I've previously been reporting. Thank you for reminding us, Eric. Declan's favourite WrestleMania is the 35 main event. Personally, I feel something went really wrong there. Martin says Survivor Series 98, The Deadly Game, and 97 had amazing themes, because it's a deadly game. Oh, I'm interested to see what you come out with, Si. I'm very interested. I like it. Martin says, Uncle Howdy solo would work for me, but it doesn't seem to work in a group. Yeah, no worries, Martin. Thank you, Ed, for dropping that. I'm, of course, perfectly reachable via Discord. I do need to make that more available. It's got a few people there, but I think I need to dedicate more time to it, because we've got people. We just need to give them a reason to check it out a bit more. I think a large part of that is good old-fashioned me. I lose track of things. Oh yeah, Martin, definitely. Says in your neck of the woods in September if you fancy another drink. Yeah, sounds good, man. We'll make that happen. Had fun last time. Genuinely a very interesting conversation. Have you two generated different... Oh, bless you. My two mods have generated different Discord links just in the rush to make sure it gets done. I appreciate the two of you. You guys are amazing. I do not deserve it. Davey says, I disagree with your comment, Tom. You're always welcome to do so. Uncle Howdy was thought up to be Bo's character to finally work with his brother, and I see no issue in him trying to continue the legacy using it. I agree that it's not an issue to try. I don't necessarily feel, unfortunately, that he's been succeeding. But I'm more than happy to have that conversation. I appreciate you bringing a different opinion. Jaden says, hi, Tom. Welcome, Jaden. Davey continues, the Wyatt Six as well were fought up before Bray's passing by Bray, so I don't believe they're trying to be Bray Wyatt. Debatable. They're trying to tell Bray Wyatt's story without him, which I feel is maybe a bit too far. Sean says, not a fan of Roxanne getting a theme change. Looks like Kiana James is parked with Julia. Does Julia need a mouthpiece? Not necessarily, but WWE certainly seem to think so. Hey, at least she's on TV. Ray says, do you think Timeless Toni Storm is the best female character in wrestling? I think it's the best character in all of wrestling. I think it ignores a lot of very good characters, such as Becky and such as Rhea. Though I will say it's very good. Declan says, I see Becky Lynch moving to Smackdown and challenging Tiffany or Jade at Clash in Paris. Cool, so you think she's going to lose to Lyra? Sid says, do you agree with Toni Storm, the hardest role to play is yourself? No, I'm pretty good at being me. I just Sounds philosophical. It's not. I am me. That is all. Calvin says the fact that Theory's been off TV for a revamp and an injury, but they're not even planning a return or a feud with Waller is really infuriating. They can't commit to it now. They can't commit to it. Good evening, Eric. No worries, mate. John Wrestling says, do you think Liv will be at SummerSlam in some capacity? Yes, I do. I don't think she'll be out on screen. I think she'll be there backstage. Roy says, who are the best brother tag team in wrestling? I think it's impossible at this point to look past the Usos. Just genuinely impossible. They is too good. Right, so I've spoken about the Wyatt Six. I mentioned it earlier, but just to reiterate, to my knowledge, Drew McIntyre is already back in the US and ready to compete at SummerSlam. I don't think he's ever going to experience any difficulty with this. He's got himself on a private jet and made his way back. The WWE have made a point of it, and I absolutely love this. One of the things that the WWE does, they cannot risk Drew McIntyre being away, so they'll go and get your passport and then send a private jet with your passport, get off the plane, give you the passport, and then get you back on the plane again. What can I say? They love spending money. They love spending money. WWE and many fans were disappointed with the most recent Smackdown. There were a couple of reasons for it. There was a lot of vignettes for Hulk Hogan, as you might expect. He was a huge part of the WWE, though it did make things feel a little disjointed, and a lot was pulled very late in the day that they were planning to feature quite strongly. Also, I will say a SmackDown that doesn't feature John Cena doesn't really feel like that big a deal anymore. They did thankfully have Logan Paul. They were quite clever with that. Jelly Roll and that whole segment worked out pretty well, even though there was, of course, a lack of credible threat involved in it. But what I will say, there was a certain lack of star power, I feel. While they continue to develop others, they are leaning quite heavily on the Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair train. No Cena, for me, leaves shows feeling kind of like letdowns. Jaden says, it's been a while. How are you doing? Doing good, thanks. Hope you are as well. Also, what do you think the plan is with Mercedes winning all these titles? I mean, the plan is to build the Mercedes brand as much as possible. It's what I reported when she first was getting signed to AEW. She does want to build her brand as she moves into business and moves into outside of wrestling business as well. She's also long-term attempting to convince the WWE that the Mercedes Money name is more valuable than the Sasha Banks name. In addition to that, her value to AEW is directly tied to her overall value in the world, so she continues to try and build her profile. Heel Johnny says, Punk finally getting his world title? Sadly, I think not. Regardless of whether or not Seth Rollins is going to be involved, I don't see a world in which CM Punk leaves SummerSlam with the championship. If that's the case, I'm confused as to why they give it back to Gunther in the first place. Again, we are screaming next door. I cannot wait. Cannot wait to have sound buffering. Where was I? Good evening, Khalid. Good to see you. Bailey says, I am me. That is all. Sounds like the back of the new spoiler warning t-shirt. I need to get around to that at some point. John says, you don't think Liv could cost Roxanne and Raquel tag team titles, helping Alexa and Charlotte win? No, she's still injured. And that would be very out of character. Because if they retain the championship, she just gets them back. So she'd be costing herself. Aaron loves what NXT is doing with Evolve and TNA. Good to hear, good to hear. Paul says, do you think there'll be any returns or debuts or any NXT debuts at SummerSlam? No, not really. Davey says, in fairness, it sounds like Creative / Triple H aren't really giving Bo a real or at least the same chance to really try to be what it sounds like you're wanting from him. No, I think that's a fair point and I agree with that. What I will say is it's difficult to say what I want from him. What I would like from him is to be his own guy and to have his own spin on things. Unfortunately, I believe that Bray Wyatt's story cannot be told without Bray Wyatt. Not getting into any of these shouldn't. People are entitled to their own opinions. I don't feel you can tell it without the man himself. So it says, what is your favourite wrestling t-shirt you own? And we're actually exactly on this topic. I went through a phase of buying quite a few wrestling t-shirts. I have 3 Seth Rollins t-shirts, a Shinsuke Nakamura t-shirt, quite a lot of Alexa Bliss stuff, a Seth Rollins and an AJ Styles belt buckle, which I wore for a while, which are honestly quite cool, I will say that. But there is absolutely no comparing to the Era of Wyatt t-shirt. The one that I got during Bray Wyatt's first World Championship reign. It has Bray as Colohue on the front, Era of Wyatt on the back, and honestly, I'm just absolutely thrilled with it. Fair play, Davey. We'll wrap it there, but I appreciate hearing your opinion. Sean says, I remember Corey Hayes saying around the time Julia and Stephanie got called up that Jordan Grace was getting called up to SmackDown. Was there ever a plan to call Jordan up? Not to my knowledge, no. Yeah, not to my knowledge. I obviously don't know everything, to be clear, but it's news to me. The Rabbit is asking for an update on Drew. To my knowledge, the WWE have sent a jet with his passport to collect him, and he's expected to be at SummerSlam. Ray says, what is your all-time favourite SummerSlam match? Mine is British Bulldog versus Bret the Hitman Hart, SummerSlam 92. SummerSlam 1998, the ladder match between The Rock and Triple H. I know there's been great matches since. I know there's been huge moments since. That one will always be the one for me. Bailey says, Mercedes picks up belts that realistically she won't even be defending. She's probably not working a program in Poland anytime soon. No, but for Mercedes money, Poland will come to her. Weird thing to say, but you get what I'm saying. We're about half an hour in. We have 72 people currently watching on YouTube. Only the 36 likes. Remember to hit that thumbs up. We have 301 already on the TikTok side. Welcome everyone who's dropping in and chatting there. Next up then. I've seen that behind a paywall there was a recent update on Alberto El Patron, essentially saying WWE still don't want him. Firstly, someone's been watching, spoiler warning, and secondly, I'm happy to report, for free, and with no paywall involved, and in fact, with not even anything that could potentially earn me money from this, Alberto El Patron is still not wanted by the WWE. In fact, I never expect to see Alberto Del Rio in a WWE ring again. He's been trying for years to get the WWE to bring him back. They just don't care. They just don't care. Do you like what I did there? Sean says, I see there's been rankings of SummerSlam matches recently. I think Brock Lesnar had 7 matches on the ranking. His match against John Cena in, I believe, 2013 is still very well received. Ray says, if TNA was booking Jordan Grace, she'd be a champion by now. Yes, because TNA has a lot less women, and she's at the very top of their division, whereas she is not in WWE. Jaden says, do you really think she's trying to impress WWE? She looks pretty happy in AEW, so I doubt going back is even on her mind. She's proving she can succeed without WWE. I laid out a lot of different things there. Not just the WWE thing, but she has said previously she's considering returning, and the WWE know what they have to do to make that happen. Declan said, if SmackDown needs star power, Becky and Seth could help. They've been on Raw for too long and done everything there. SmackDown doesn't necessarily need star power. They just need someone like John Cena to turn up. I also feel I should point out there are no plans that involve The Rock at SummerSlam. Triple H, in fact, wants to keep The Rock as far away from WWE as possible right now. And he's not shy about saying it. Juan says, they believe Alberto Del Rio's career is over then. AW2 don't want him. Yeah, there is a reason that nobody wants this guy. There is a reason for it. Michael says, I find it more likely that Mercedes tries to at least convince Bayley to go to AEW than going back to WWE. I do think that's on the agenda at the moment. With Bayley only having about a year left, reportedly, I'm interested to see how that goes, because she has done everything she can in WWE. WWE attempted to have another roast featuring Tony Hinchcliffe after SummerSlam had aired. Apparently it was very well received at WrestleMania, apart from the fact that the fans hated it. Fans hated it so much, in fact, that even with Cody Rhodes added to the occasion, they barely sold any tickets and the entire event has now been cancelled. WWE at this point in time are not intending to work with Tony Hinchcliffe in the future, even though there are people within WWE such as Nia Jax who apparently really enjoyed her time there. I'd also like to point out that we saw on SmackDown Zelina Vega and Julia, and in fact Kiana James, involved on screen. I'm told that Zelina Vega is the architect of this. She's the one who's pushing for more screen time, not just for the women, but also for the United States Championship. This week, even though she usually fails, she achieved her goal and got more women on WWE TV and a women's match in the near future. I've got to say, Zelina Vega very much stands on business and very much succeeded in getting what she was looking for. Jaden says, do you see her going back to WWE within 5 years? That very much depends, because I'd imagine when her contract is set to expire, there will be a communication. Even if it's unofficial, there'll be a conversation. And if the words Mercedes money will be your name do not leave the lips of our good friend Nick Khan, I doubt she will be returning. Juan says, Mercedes money and Bayley in AEW. Team will go from boss and hug to CEO hug connection. Does TK have high interest in Bayley, though? He will if he knows what's good for him. Bayley says, Bayley isn't going to leave because her character present in WWE is WWE, much like Natalya. Does Davina Rose really sell any tickets in AEW? Yeah. Yeah. I stand by it. While Bayley is certainly a big name in WWE, she's also a big name in general. And hey, Adam Copeland sells. Noob says, Alberto Del Rio's wrestling career is over. No indie promotions don't want him. WWE, TNA, AEW, even NWA don't want him. He's pretty much done. While I agree with most of what you've just said, Tessa Blanchard. We'll leave that there. Aaron says, is SummerSlam Cross's last match? Personally, I'd be surprised if they haven't got some sort of extension before getting him on the SummerSlam card. As I says, what match are you most looking forward to at SummerSlam? It's a difficult one because I'm actually quite excited for the women's side and not that excited for the men's side. Yeah, I think Roman's tag match alongside Jay against Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker could be a lot of fun. I think TLC is going to be carnage. I think TLC is going to be carnage. Outside of that, it's the women's triple threat. And Becky versus Lyra. And the women's tag team championship. We are where we are. Roy says, I worry for women's wrestlers who sign for AEW as they don't get TV time like Deonna Purrazzo and Camille. There's only so much TV time that they have and they do the best they can with that. No, Jaden, though I can't remember the exact date that she signed, but she signed for 3 years, so it's not too long left. Roy says, when is SummerSlam? It's coming up, mate. This weekend. Michael says, he asked SRS where he'd guessed Dakota lands, and he said Japan may have to dust off that Stardom World subscription soon. To be fair, I first sort of saw Dakota's work when she was Evie in Stardom, so I definitely think it'll be worth it. Calvin says the draft the week after SummerSlam. Haven't heard anything about the draft in a while. Bear with. Do apologise. Sean says it seems like Bodyslam.net watches spoiler warning also because I remember recently they confirmed what you've been saying for a while. WWE not wanting to bring back Saraya. Yep. You see a lot of that, don't you? And I'll take this opportunity to say when it comes to this show, the way that we grow is entirely through word of mouth. I'm not on social media shouting and screaming to the rooftops. I'm not. I don't want to be. I don't care enough. The way we grow is by essentially you guys saying, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. The way we grow is by you guys saying, hey, this guy had it first. And the reason we are so close to 10,000 subscribers right now is because you guys have been telling everyone. So I want to take an opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for spreading the word. And thank you for getting out there the good work that I feel we're doing here. The amount of news that we share that is first reported here and then starts popping up elsewhere, I'm proud of the work we do. What can I say? I'm very grateful for all of you guys as well. Aaron says, was the Iconics ever going to return? There was and still is interest in the Iconics rejoining WWE, but unfortunately I don't feel Triple H can quite justify the financial outlay at this point in time. Is she, as I say, I haven't heard anything. Thank you, Declan. Ray says, I look forward to the AEW pay-per-views and TNA pay-per-views more than WWE PLEs. Well, those shows may be for you then. Juan says, well, to be fair, Deonna Purrazzo and Camille complained about their booking and TK took them off TV forever. So maybe don't complain about your booking for TV time, at least not publicly. To be fair, breaking ranks is a dangerous game. A deadly game, one might say. Erin says, the Wyatt's entrance for the TLC match seems like it'll be cool for the folks in the theatres in the US. I'm interested to see what they go for. True, Aaron. There's been some difficulties there. I think outside of NXT, Hit Row never really worked. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair have been directly involved in their own creative for their ongoing storyline. This is something that's been happening with Charlotte Flair for a while, but it's only recently started with Alexa Bliss. They've been asked what they wanted to do when they returned, and they were able to get kind of exactly what they were looking for. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair, for example. Alexa Bliss wasn't really pushing or blowing her own trumpet, should I say, but she's been encouraged to do so by Charlotte Flair, and the WWE creative team are very happy with what they're making happen. Instead of having promos written for them, essentially the two of them get given notes of, let's take it in this direction. Then they will go and ad-lib, and the creative team, including the two of them, will write their story around those ad-libs. It's one of the reasons that they go quiet for a little while and then just sort of zoom forwards. Creative basically said to them, hi, you're going nice and slow, but if you're going to be in a tag team championship match, maybe you could hurry it the fuck up a little bit. So they have been working on their own creative. Also, a note on TLC and as regards the Smackdown and Raw tag team divisions. The TLC match just after WrestleMania was believed to be an apology to the SmackDown tag division for not featuring them more strongly, particularly at WrestleMania, even though Raw and The New Day did get the opportunity. Having proved what they can do, the WWE essentially decided, yeah, we have to stop ignoring these guys. So here the WWE are apologizing one more time. What I will say is this is a huge opportunity for a SmackDown tag division that is going from strength to strength, and that there are many voices in the Raw tag team division that are outright jealous of what creative are making happen on the SmackDown side. No, I got you, Ishii. Don't worry, I just use that as an opportunity. Juan says Dave Meltzer believes if Britt Baker doesn't show up on the Pittsburgh AEW Dynamite in September, then she'll be leaving. Ray says, thank you for giving us wrestling news where we can't get it anywhere else. I try, Ray, I try. Thank you guys for getting the word out, and thank you for your continued support in doing so. Calvin says, I think the Iconic/Influence are doing great in TNA. They definitely should have won the tag titles last week. TNA also gives them a lot more control over their schedules, and as parents, that's important now. Sean says, do you think later down the line WWE would have any interest in bringing back Cora Jade and Indy Hartwell? Triple H was not happy to see either of them go. Not up to him. Calvin says, the superstars normally involved and hands-on in their character revamp during their time off. Sometimes they are. It does depend on the situation. Most wrestlers will get regular check-ins every 2 or 3 months if they're off for a prolonged period, at which point they can say things like, I was thinking we could do this. John says, Tom, do you know if the broken nose Alexa got on SmackDown is just a storyline injury? No, it's not. No. No. Her nose got busted open. It was an accident. There's no storyline to that. She got busted open. Parrish, welcome, says hello, Tom. Welcome, Parrish. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Next up. The amount of stipulations being added to SummerSlam is a continual tactic to provide as much variation in what Triple H considers to be a bloated card. Triple H is of the opinion that having this many straight one-on-one matches would simply bore the audience. And so, particularly with the amount of rematches being planned, such as Cena versus Cody and Becky versus Lyra, he felt that people would have flagging attention spans if they weren't given a reason to stay tuned in. Triple H is the driving force, and the main driving force encouraging the creative team to come up with new and interesting stipulations that they can use at SummerSlam to make sure nobody gets, quote-unquote, bored. Michael says, saw a Wrestling News Co-post, appreciate it, on IG about Meltzer's report of female talent quitting for OnlyFans. R-Truth within the supplies if I'm starting one for my feet in a couple months. You say it's hilarious. In reality, he's probably going to make quite a bit of money if he genuinely does that. I mean, porn basically got banned in the UK. What else are you going to do? Declan says, I'm sick of the Becky vs. Lyra. Triple H needs to move on. He's trying to. Becky keeps telling him not to. Becky and Bayley are the ones pushing it, mate. They're the ones trying to make it happen. Finally, Travis Scott. Now, I've spoken about this for months. Months. WWE did have intentions, as I was the first one to report, of having Travis Scott involved in tag team matches alongside John Cena. There was also talk of The Rock, John Cena and Travis Scott versus Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles and Finn Balor. There were a lot of things pushed and a lot of ideas considered. I think they're just trying to be annoying now. But when it comes to the world of Travis Scott, he simply has not succeeded. The WWE knew what they wanted. They just didn't get it. Travis Scott wasn't particularly interested. So instead, they started training up Jelly Roll, and Jelly Roll has done much better. Travis Scott, as I mentioned previously, was a favourite of The Rock. Triple H and The Rock are not exactly the happiest about the situation. And they are, shall we say, battling it out to try and be the head of creative. There is only one head of creative. No, the other mic, that is just pure neighbour. And that is all of the news that I have. I'm going to wrap it up there, guys, and say a big thank you to everyone for joining me. We'll be back on Friday, and then, of course, we're live for both nights of SummerSlam. We will be live in the UK time until about 4 in the morning, both Saturday and Sunday. I cannot wait to see all of you there for that. In the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.